Welcome back to Friends with Fibro, episode 4, part 2, with Charlotte Ball of Chronically Fit Group.
So just I'm a little bit curious, I was a bit nosy, but we've sort of touched on relationships and how I would like to explore with you, if you wouldn't mind, how and where you sort of like share with people that you're
Okay.
in a relationship with or exploring a new relationship.
I've got some good stories about this, and I'm bear in mind I was diagnosed when I was 16, so I've had a little bit of a time of it. That's not me trying to say I sleep around. I definitely don't. But over the last few years, I've had a few partners, and whether it's been like people that I've been seeing for a bit or like speaking to for a bit and things like that. And obviously dating is actually quite difficult because you want to be comfy, but you want to look nice.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a different kind of want to be comfy. I want to be comfy because I don't want to be like in pain because my top's too tight in like 2 hours time or however long this date's going to go on for. I don't want to wear heels because my ankles might hurt in like a couple of hours. It's thinking about those sort of things, and kind of if you do ignore the fact that you are going to be in pain in a couple of hours, that person may feel you're uninterested because like you'll be in pain. You'll be thinking about that. You're not be
rude.
yeah, exactly, and you'll be there like, oh my god, I'm in so much pain. I'm not even registering what he's saying. And at the same time, speaking back, like once you get into that point of like a flare up or whatever, like your brain fog will take over and then you can't talk properly and cancelling dates and things. So it's a really difficult world to approach. I'm pretty good at it now. So do you know what? It took ages for me to actually tell people properly about like what's going on with me, because I look fine and I know I look fine, and I consciously cover it up. Because I don't feel the need to have the conversation half the time. But I do feel like if you do spend the night with someone, like especially for me, like when it was first all going on, I didn't have a diagnosis. I was in pain quite, and this is going to sound really silly because I kind of am used to the pain now. If I wake up, I'm just silent and pretend I'm asleep. Whereas before, I'd wake up in pain and I'd be like, this really hurts. And there'd be like tears streaming down my face. Whoever I'd woken up next, that sounds awful. The person I woke up next to would be like, why are you crying? What have I done? Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, it's not you. Like I've got this thing and rah, rah, rah. And
like, really, it's not you. It is me. It is me.
It genuinely is me. And then you'd have to, and I'd have to tell people at that point. And I say people, there's like a couple of people, but I'd have to say at that point, oh, there's this thing I've got. And it never put anyone off because I'd never really let it be a big thing. Whereas now I think, and also in that 3-year relationship, it took over quite a lot of it. I was in and out of hospitals. I was going to medical appointments. The person I was with had a chronic illness himself, and he was type 1 diabetic. He still is type 1 diabetic. So for me, I also was almost like I can't be that bad because he's got something worse. And that was very much, and it is still very much a toxic trait of mine, is that I always think, oh yeah, well, they're worse than me. And the amount that mentally will drain you, and I've had it from girls in the group and just people in general that have messaged me and been like, oh, you speak about chronic illness, and it's actually really surprising the amount of people from school that have messaged me and said, oh, it's really great that you're talking about this because I got diagnosed with such and such, but I don't feel like it's bad enough for me to join the group or bad enough for me to say anything about it. And I think, yeah, I've been there. I know what that's like. I'm more open about this than I ever have been, and it's only been in the last like couple of years or so. So it takes a really long time, and approaching it with a partner is probably the hardest thing. They'll either take it one way, and you've got to realize that they don't understand. They will not understand what's wrong with you. And if they do, I've had a partner that has been so like devoted to looking after me, and it kind of got a bit patronizing, and I was annoyed, and I just get annoyed because I'd be like, no, I can still do things. And then I've had the complete opposite where it's like, let's go and climb a mountain, and that person's like, oh, you're doing really well, but like you could tell they're annoyed. So you just kind of, you've got to kind of take that person out of the equation, look after yourself, never like, and this has been my big thing, is leaning on someone, thinking that I needed someone around. And it was only when I moved out that I thought, do you know what, I can look after myself way better on my own than I ever have been able to when I've relied on someone else.
Yeah.
And I did, and I'm not saying I never did. I did definitely rely on other people to help me and help look after me. But I've never been the type of person that's like, oh, I'm so ill. But I even was reading through an old group chat of friends that I was like really good friends with about 3-4 years ago, and we and I said to them, I've cancelled on them a few times. I was reading these messages like, why did you cancel? Like, you could have just gone there and like just sat on the sofa and they'd have been fine with it. But I was so adamant that I wanted to be this like happy-go-lucky person all the time. Yeah, all the time. I didn't want that other side of it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've got friends and family and like partners and that, like I've approached it with them, but it's not until they see that I'm really shit that actually they understand. And understandably so. You wouldn't understand unless you have it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it's never an easy thing approaching someone and saying, oh, by the way, I've got chronic illness. It's not something I'd say on a first date either, unless I like dislocated something and then I'd be like, oh, don't worry, it's normal.
Don't mind me. Yeah. Funny story.
Yeah, this is it. Like, you don't tend to say anything unless something normally happens. Like, I tend to, in the morning, if I'm getting up, I will just click a lot of my body, and that's just purely habit, and it's a horrible, disgusting habit that everyone seems to pick up on. They're like, oh, why is that clicked? Or did you just click your neck? Did you just click this? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. It doesn't hurt. It's fine. I can just do it on demand and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not something, and it is a question that everyone always asks, like, how do you tell a partner? You just, to be honest with you, you really can't. You can't just be like, oh, by the way, it's this, and don't expect them to get it.
Yeah.
Tell them and give them like links to YouTube videos or whatever, but they're never gonna understand it fully. They'll understand it to an extent, and have to know how they deal with it.
In my experience with my partner now, I found it helpful to understand their way of learning, how they best like to learn about something, because you can tell something from your perspective and your point of view and they can take it in, but they may need to. So like with my partner, for example, his mum has fibromyalgia, so he has a preconceived idea of what fibromyalgia is through his mum, which is very different to how he feels about his partner having it. So that was a really interesting conversation that we had, because he didn't necessarily understand. It's not that he didn't believe the symptoms, he just didn't understand how they could or would occur, until I started talking about my experience of it, and until I started saying to him, like, oh, well, have you ever sat down with your mum and asked her about this stuff? Have you ever explored this as a conversation? And he's like, no, I've just taken it for face value. And I'm like, okay, well, what you're saying is factual. Like, you may not understand it, that doesn't make it like any less valid or any less true. And so we spoke about it, and then he went away and he sort of did his own research, which wasn't to say, like, I think if I'd have been in a bad mood, if he'd have sent me the information that he'd sent me, I could have read it to be like, okay, you actually didn't believe me until you saw it with your own eyes, what this is. But it was just his way of, like, it was just for him, he needed to read it in the language that he understands for it to click.
Yeah.
So I found with him, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I've never thought about that. I mean, I've, like, in the past with with like partners and colleagues, because I also get tired of trying to explain it. I find myself just saying, I'll just Google it. Like, it's just easier, just Google it. Like,
so how unhelpful is Google sometimes? And it is a question. Someone actually messaged me and said, oh, what is it that what chronic illnesses do you have? And they weren't saying it out of spite. It was, I put up a video on my Instagram and they were genuinely interested. And I said, this and this, go and look them up, and it'd be really interesting to see what you find out. And he came back and he was like, I have no idea. And I said, I cut it down to basics and like just said, I'm in a lot of pain, I'm also fatigued. I racked off the symptoms, and that's, people understand symptoms so much better than they understand like an actual name for something. And I just racked off the symptoms, and it was like, wow, you've explained it way better than Google has. And I was like, why? Why is it so difficult to find any information? And it is just purely there's the symptoms of it, like trying to explain it. You can explain the biology of it and all of the like the stuff that you need to understand scientifically, but for someone like onlooking, they don't really want to know that. They want to know what's happening. And it is really interesting. And I think my main thing has been understanding that the people around me, putting myself in their shoes, I think that's really helped me to tell people. Because if I turn around and go, oh, by the way, I've got this, it's this, and this, and then the next day I'm out drinking or I'm out shopping or something, it just kind of doesn't sink in. It doesn't sink in. So you've got to kind of see it from their point of view. So I used to invite my friends round when I was having a flare up and just say, come and watch a film with me. At college, was when my fatigue was really bad. So my fatigue came on really bad at the age of like 17, 18, 19, that sort of age. And I actually used to go to my friends' houses and fall asleep. But I'd still have a conversation with them, but I'd genuinely just fall asleep, and I'd be so tired. I'd be the tired friend. And I realise now like why that is. But at the time I was just kind of like, it must have been quite annoying for them. Like if I had a friend round and they would just sleep every time they came round, I'd be like, what the hell? Like luckily I'm still friends with a few of them, so just clearly not bother them that much. But I can imagine it was quite frustrating for some people. And there have been, I've had friends that have said to me, look, you always cancel, so I just never invite you out now. I'm like, and you've got, do you know what? The people that are going to stick around and understand it are the ones that are worth staying like friendly with.
The good ones get it. The good ones absolutely get it.
But you've also got to understand that it's not their fault they don't understand it. It's a complex thing. It's taken me years to actually like understand and accept it. So relying on,
don't wait for it, but don't be surprised if those people that now aren't in your life, because for whatever reason, if you think it's connected to this, then don't be surprised if in a few years down the line they reappear because they have either had themselves an experience of it or a family member and suddenly understand it from a different perspective. Because like everyone day to day is their priority is themselves, and if they're not getting what they need from you, then eventually it will. And
exactly. And
it's a harsh way of putting it, but try not to take it personally, because people come and go.
Exactly. It is, and that is exactly it. And I think I'm so accepting of it now. I'm just kind of like, that if you don't get that I'm going to cancel on you, and you don't get it, that's fine. I try my best to explain things. I don't cancel all the time. I'm not that bad, but there's been times where we've been out for friends' birthdays and I'd be like, look, I really need to go home. And I think sometimes that's quite a dig at some people, especially like when they're really close to you. They're like, oh, well, you went to my birthday but you left, and I'm like, I don't want to.
I don't enjoy missing out.
Exactly. But I think approaching telling anyone, you've really got to understand that person as a person before you start saying anything, and also just put yourself in their shoes. Don't expect a lot back, because you will be disappointed. It sounds really horrible, but you will. Just take it as it comes, and hopefully they will too.
And I guess sort of understanding why it is that you are sharing it with them. I think that word expectation is really important, making sure that your expectation of telling them isn't going to be that they suddenly turn into your carer or want to turn into
exactly but also manage theirs as well, that they don't need to do that. They can be the same as they've always been. Like, you don't want them to change, you just want them to know, so that they understand. If you go, look, I'm really not feeling very well, they could turn around and go, oh, okay, well, let's just stay in and watch a film, or let's like do something really chill. You go to the cinema or something. You can probably still go to the cinema at times. So
one day we'll be able to.
No,
we'll be let out again.
I think this would be our ideal world, but I think my sanity came from the good days where I was able to go out and do things. I feel like I'm constant, like, because you do isolate yourself when you've got a chronic illness, when you're having a bad day, or a flare up, like week or whatever. You do isolate yourself. So, like, knowing that when you feel good, you can't go out and you can't do things, has been quite draining, especially for me. Like me, I'm such a sociable person, so like that's just been like a killer for me, not being able to leave. I feel good, let me leave.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd be interested to know where, like, so at the start of the first lockdown, I had a bit of a rant about the fact that people within our community were sort of dissing people who aren't part of our community day to day for suddenly finding themselves being isolated indoors, and they're like, well, welcome to the world of chronic illness, like, how does it feel? Me too, actually. I was like, what is this, guys? How is this helpful to anyone? And I'm like, well, nearly a year on, like you say, like on your good days when you want to be able to go out, like, where's your memes about how everyone else is like not dealing with being isolated and all this stuff, like this, like FU type.
It was do you know what, it was almost like a massive thing through the chronic illness community, where everyone was like, oh, we're used to it, rah rah rah, and I was like, I'm not.
No. And like, I want to go out. How does that make it fair or like justified to be blasting other people who suddenly find themselves confined to four walls, and like, you know, it's just like, it's just not helpful. Like, social media can be so toxic.
Absolutely.
And that's and it can be so just damning to.
Well, that's exactly kind of, I'm in a love-hate relationship with it. The only reason I'm loving it is because of the people I've connected with. But like, also I've ended up falling out with people because like I've been left out of things, or like, and it's not because like I kick up a fuss or anything, but just because I don't understand the fact that people can be so inconsiderate on there and like say things like for example, the fact that all of a sudden it was almost like people wanted to make a backlash at those people that didn't understand day-to-day life. And I get from a chronic illness perspective, I get where that meme was coming from, and I get where that kind of uprising was coming from. It was from the fact that nobody understands how we feel and everyone doubts it all the time and rah, rah, rah. But at the same time, channeling that out when everyone else was struggling, we just did the same thing back.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, where's the advice? Like, okay, we've got
it just did the same thing back as what was happening before.
Yeah, sorry, our internet went wild then, so you went like really, really fast and really slow. But yeah, I was just like, where and how are we being helpful to others in this situation, guys? Like, how about we throw out our experience of, this is really shit, but here's a few tips on how to deal with it, because like,
I think that's the thing as well, like with the group that we're in, the Chronically Fit group, and I say the group that we're in because I don't like calling it my group. It's not my group, it's everyone that's in it.
The thing, right? Can we please just take a moment, because I don't think you ever give yourself enough credit for the work that you put in, because you currently run all of this on your own single-handedly, don't you? You've got an
full-time job,
Facebook group, a Facebook support group, a WhatsApp group. Once a month you run a Zoom meeting, and you've now, like, you've been making videos sort of like as an ongoing anyway, but now you've got this new series called okay, doc, but what the fuck, which PS absolutely love. Like, and you are supporting so many people through that. I really want to take a moment to just appreciate and highlight how much effort that is.
Yeah, I like that. I like that, but it does it
of people.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to be this person that helps. But at the same time, if it wasn't for everyone getting involved and following it and sharing it and liking it and doing all those sort of things, then it wouldn't be what it is. So I genuinely cannot hold it to me. And also, half the time,
You started a revolution of loveliness.
I started it.
Great.
I'm more than happy to talk about it.
There's like other little stems coming off it now, and like I know you've got bigger plans and ideas for it, and I just love it. It's exactly what if I'd have been able to tap into that like 8 years ago when I first got it. I really would like to think that it wouldn't have taken me as long as it has for me to take my stuff seriously and be able to know and see that a diagnosis isn't the end of the world. Like, there is hope.
I think the same, and that's why I did it. I did it for those people because I just know how much I feel like I've wasted a lot of time dwelling and being so low about being ill when I look fine, and I want to do the same things as my friends and and you just I know how much it mentally drained me, and I want people to know that there are other people. And a lot of the girls in the group, and I say girls in the group because the Facebook group is mostly women, but a lot of them are young, really young. And there's been stories I've shared on Instagram, the people that are really, really young, and I'm just like, and a lot of them I've had to be like, yeah, you're actually really young, so can you just make sure this is allowed? And like I've shared stories from people that are like 16, 17, like the age that I was, and you realize, and I've realized now that I'm older, how young that was, because there's so much social life that you want to do, and like there's things in life that you want to do, and it really did take quite a lot of my time. And I think I probably wouldn't have had so much of my time not wasted as such because I grew through it, but a lot of my time kind of put on hold because I was just didn't understand, and I wouldn't have had that if I had a group like what we've got going now, because it's helped me, and that's the thing, it's helping me. So I really can't say that it's something that I've done, because I'm like, it does wonders for me. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I really need to talk to the girls, oh, I really need to do this, I really need to do that, oh, do you know what, I'm gonna focus on doing something new for Chronically Fit group. And that's what I do if I'm having a crappy time. I channel it all into the group and trying to bring something else out and connect with more people. And I've connected with people from all over the world now, and there's a really nice bloke from Australia who's going to help me try and set some things up over there. So I've got good things going on, but I just want it to reach as many people as possible, just purely because I don't want anyone to feel how I did. And it's not going to stop people from feeling like that, but I just want them to know that there's so many other people out there, which doesn't mean that they're insignificant. It just that you don't have to feel like you're going crazy, because you will feel like that, and everyone who has got to the stage that especially we're at will be able to relate to that and be like, it's not going to end there, you're fine, like, you will keep going.
Make sure that it doesn't. That's so awesome. You should be I really, 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 really mean it when you should be really, really proud of yourself, because you're reaching so many people, and like the numbers are very clear on your Instagram, like how many people you're hitting. It's just, I love it. It's the highlight of my day, and I'm learning. It's so good as well to be learning so much about other people's conditions, because it's so easy to become blinkered and like all consumed by your own shit when there's so much more shit going on outside of your
that's something I'm so passionate about, is just finding out more about other things as well. So for example, like the first episode of that YouTube series was about vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Now, I've got a different type of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but I'm so invested in finding out about all of the, like, we've got a couple of the people in the group who have things that I never knew existed. I'm going to say it wrong now, but aquagenic urticaria or something, and it's basically an allergy to water. And I did, yeah, and this is it. I was like, oh my, I want to know more.
Yeah.
I'm so interested. It must be so hard for that person, but there must be more people than just that person with this. So I was like, right, you need to get on this. So I'm basically going around finding people with different chronic illnesses, and they might have multiple, but I'm trying to focus on like just one of those throughout the series, just so I can get that out there. And they're only going to be 5-minute videos and not going to be very long. It's just a purely just a little like information blip to just a bit of information and awareness around it. It's just because I'm interested as well. If I could look up something and find a 5-minute video on it, I'd do it all the time.
Yeah.
But it tends to be quite a like lengthy process trying to like figure out things.
Yeah, no, I thought your video on your what the fuck video on beads was really like short, snappy, but informative. Like I felt like I got everything I needed from it. Like I feel like I know enough about it now. I'm like, cool, great. So I feel like if I was somebody looking for information about that and I've been diagnosed, I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. Right, got it.
Yeah, it's that bit of information that you don't always get from the leaflets and things like that. But also, I'm getting real people to do it with me, partly because I don't have all of these things, so I can't vouch for it. But partly because actually sometimes it helps hearing it from a real person.
Yeah.
And yeah, there'll be little like resources on there. Like I chucked one on for the Ehlers-Danlos Society and things like that. There are things out there, and I do still do my own research on all of the different chronic illnesses before I start making a video, because I don't want to chat shit.
Yeah, no, you want to get it right.
Yeah.
So for anyone who wants to see what Chronically Fit Group looks like, where to find you, your YouTube, and the pages attached to CFG, what do we do? Could you give us a visual, please?
So mainly you just type Chronically Fit Group into Google, it will come up. Otherwise, it's at Chronically Fit Group on multiple socials. Mm-hmm. Alternatively, you can go to our website. Now, I've actually got .co.uk that just links off to this. I haven't paid for the web thingy because, you know, I'm doing it in spare time. So this is our homepage, and you can link off to any of our socials from here. You've got a little bit about our story. We've got a vlog on there. Obviously, that's just linking off to the YouTube support, and then we've got a few people that partnered with us just to help. And then so got some resources in here. I don't even know if you've seen this, Bethan. I've literally just done this.
Of course I have. Well, both of us as I have. I'm sure I have. Yeah, journal templates. Yeah.
Yeah, all of these things. We've got like a journal template, so you can. That'd be really helpful.
Yeah, that's neat. It looks different to how I last saw it when I found it. When I looked at this stuff before. I'm enjoying the new website layout.
Yeah, we've got a new logo and things like that. It's just stuff I've ended up doing in my spare time. This is a little PDF thing to do when you're stuck at home, little photo challenge, recommended YouTubers, like Netflix watch list, things like that. Just stuff to put together, because I know that a lot of us are getting quite frustrated with being at home. Mm-hmm. But yeah, mainly it'll be our Facebook group, which is just Chronically Fit Group. You can look it up. This is the one. We're doing a yoga thing this month, which is quite nice actually. I've not been very good at doing it, but you know.
This week I am determined to do day 7, because we're doing the breath challenge, aren't we, with Adrienne?
Yeah.
I really love Adrienne, but yeah, it's been
it's been really nice to have something else to do. So this is our Instagram. Obviously we share stories and all sorts of stuff. It's just I mix it up now and then if I can.
Love it. So I've always admired how professional looking your Instagram page is, because it has it follows a certain format, and it's definitely
developed from over the years. Oh, this is going to go to a YouTube video. So there's like an introduction, and we've got we got 9 subscribers. It's a very new thing for me. I've not really gone into it too much, but this is the older new series, so feel free to go and watch.
I love Thanks Doc. It's so good.
I just think that is probably like my perfect name for it, because you go through so much to get a diagnosis, and you're like, when you get one, you're like, thanks, and then you're like, what the fuck? what is it?
It's perfect.
How else
Brilliant
could I do
idea.
it?
Love it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more and more and seeing how that develops. It's awesome. So right, we shall leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week at CFG support group.
Yeah, I'll meet up. Yeah, and to be fair, that's kept me sane as well. The meetups were great. So that's
I love it. And I really don't know how to tell you, but hopefully we'll be able to show you one day, and hopefully we'll be able to meet one day physically.
I know. One day we'll
imagine a day. But I really, really do mean it, that like Chronically Fit group has helped me in more ways than I will be able to ever tell you or show you. And so I'm so grateful for the work that you've put into it, and the people that you've connected me with, and the work that you continue to do to develop it. It's really, really awesome. So keep doing it. I think you're brilliant, and thank you so much.
Thanks. Thanks for being a part of it. Like, it's all there for everyone. So
much love. I love it. Thank you so much. And I'll speak to you very soon. I'll probably drop you a text in a minute.
I'll speak to you later.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.